Amidst the cacophony of a busy demolition site, a silent conversation is taking place. Conversation uses no words, yet it could be the fundamental difference between a project being completed on time and on budget, or falling behind and spiraling into a loss. That conversation is taking place between the machines on site and a vast, super intelligent telemetry system located potentially thousands of miles away. That system is analyzing millions of pieces of information every single second. It watches everything the machine does and for how long. It monitors engine output, fuel consumption, hydraulic pressures and flows, converting the zeros and ones of binary code into meaningful and vital performance data. In the immediate term, that data is used to improve operations for greater efficiencies. It can identify developing problems long before they become catastrophic failures, potentially saving tens of thousands in repair costs and downtime. But that data is also being harvested for something far more significant. By drawing feedback from hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of machines working across the globe, manufacturers are now able to better understand the real world demands placed upon their equipment. When applied, that information will be used to make the next generation of machines just a little bit better, bit stronger, more efficient than their predecessors. And in the main, we're happy for our data to be used in that way. Yeah, I guess the cynical amongst us might express a flicker of concern that their experience with a first generation machine could be used to make a second generation machine better, thereby granting a rival company a competitive advantage in the future. But overall, equipment users take the generous attitude of a rising tide raises all the boats. They accept that their machine's data might help make a competitor's future fleet more reliable because they recognize that a more robust machine benefits the entire industry. They're happy for their data to be used to improve equipment that might benefit them and their rivals. It's just a crying shame they don't take the same approach when it comes to other forms of data and information sharing. While our machines are busy building a global hive mind of efficiency, the professionals directing them are often doing the exact opposite. We treat our methodologies, our safety protocols, and most tragically, our accident and near miss reports as if they were the crown jewels. We've created a paradox where the tools of our trade are permitted to learn from one another, but the people using them are encouraged to work in splendid isolation. The common defense for this information hoarding is the protection of intellectual property. There's a lingering fear that if a firm shares a bespoke methodology for, say, the top down dismantling of a complex structure, they're handing their secret sauce to a rival on a silver platter. But that logic is fundamentally flawed for two primary reasons. Firstly, the global demolition pipeline is vast. No single firm, regardless of their reach, has the capacity to handle every complex project on Earth. You might have developed a game changing demolition method here in the UK, but that doesn't mean you'll suddenly be selling your services in the United States or the United Arab Emirates. The market is plenty big enough for shared wisdom. And secondly, there's a fundamental difference between a commercial edge and a safety standard. A proprietary software for tender estimations is a legitimate trade secret. However, the knowledge of how a specific structural failure occurred during a demolition is a public health requirement. A near miss in Leeds is a lesson that could save a life in Lyon, in Lisbon, in Los Angeles. And to keep that hidden for the sake of competition is frankly a dereliction of duty. This strategic secrecy actually runs counter to the ways of the modern world. When I wanted to learn live streaming, I watched YouTube videos from people who had already mastered the best methods and who were now sharing that learning free of charge with the rest of the world. If I wanted to grow gooseberries, bake a cake, or build a ham radio setup in my back bedroom, I could consult articles, blog posts, podcasts, and videos from those that have already mastered these things. Surely it's high time that we stop acting like that annoying schoolboy who curled his hand around his exercise book so no one could see his answers or, more importantly, how he got there. Now, I'm not suggesting that the demolition industry sets about creating a series of how-to videos on every aspect of the demolition process. It would take forever, it would cost a fortune, and we certainly don't want Joe Public watching a video and then attempting a DIY bridge demolition. But we already have the mechanisms in place through which to establish an information repository that is a benefit to all, not just the members of certain paid members clubs. The Institute of Demolition Engineers already has a library of academic-style white papers of this kind, but that library is far from comprehensive and very few people outside the Institute even know of its existence. Meanwhile, national demolition associations may have their own information resources, but that information travels across borders only between exclusive clubs. Here in the UK, the National Federation of Demolition Contractors has a full suite of industry guidance notes, but they're available to members only. The voice of the demolition industry operates on a pay-to-play basis where safety and best practice carry a subscription fee. In the 21st century, when information has been democratized and made available to all, our ongoing insistence upon firewalls and data silos is a relic of a bygone age. If we truly want all the boats to rise, we can't just raise the tide in small private bodies of water. We need the tides to rise across oceans, seas, rivers, lakes, and ponds. And if something we learned in Manchester could save a life in Mumbai, surely that's a good thing, right?